Asia Pacific is emerging as a defining region for the future of flight. This is one of the fastest growing aviation markets in the world, and in the next 15 years, it is poised to become one of the largest as well in terms of passenger traffic. While the global fleet is expected to grow about 3% annually, Apac, on the other hand, will see a faster growth rate close to 4% to reach more than 6,000 aircraft in service. Building on a base of already 3,800 engines flying across 110 customers, 25 countries in Asia Pacific, the GE Aerospace team here is ready to support what comes next. To support that growth, our MRO business here in the region is working closely with government agencies, airline customers, and industry partners to strengthen capabilities and tackle ongoing challenges.
What trends are you seeing across your MRO operations in the region when it comes to demand, delivery timelines, and customer needs, and how are you guys responding to that?
I read last week that Singapore manufacturing had increased year on year by 7%, of which aerospace, mostly MRO, was 22% of that growth. So we're actually seeing that growth just now. And growth is a challenge, and that's leading us to invest in Asia Pacific. We announced over $1 billion in MRO over the next 5 years. For Asia Pacific in particular, last year that was 45 million, 75 million this year. And that's very much working in partnership with our partners at EDB. The support we have here in Singapore is phenomenal. To give you an example of that, we announced earlier this year that we will be establishing a new repair technology development centre at our Seletar facility, and that's part of that investment.
We continue to invest in our people, in our capabilities, in our capacities to prepare ourselves for this growth. Across the pandemic, we started building hangars in China, we started building hangars in Singapore, we started expanding our facilities in Pensacola just for this growth. And we have the balance sheet to do that. Together with partners like GE and with the government agencies, we look at where are the areas that we need to then develop deeper capabilities. Automation and AI is one area that we have started a few years ago. We are seeing some fruits of that.
Southeast Asia is one of the few bright spots in the world where you can still have high single-digit growth. For example, you cited Vietnam at 8%. And I think this is one of the key drivers that we are fortunate to have, right? Where the region is growing well and there's more demand for air travel in this part of the world. So that's the first reason. The second one is actually Singapore has managed to retain and even grow our comprehensive nose to tail, we like to call it, MRO sector. And today, 1 out of 10 aircraft equivalent is actually serviced out of Singapore. So that's about 10% of the global output. If you look at the engine space, that's closer to 1 out of 5, or 19% of the global engine MRO share. And it is because of the trust and confidence of companies like GE, SD Engineering that we have managed to do that.
About 550 embedded supply chain professionals, engineers, working with our top suppliers, our priority suppliers, to improve quality and delivery. That's seen in the second quarter of this year, for example, we saw a 10% increase in output from our priority suppliers, and overall supply chain delivered over 95% of its committed deliveries. We're seeing that locally here in Singapore, where our team is coaching flight deck to local first-tier suppliers. And one example I could give is seeing an increase of 50% in output and volume for the LEAP engine through coaching and sharing of flight deck. We're the first facility worldwide, first company in the industry to actually use additive to repair jet engine components, not to produce jet engine components. That's 60% faster, so it requires 50% less post-processing and leads us to 40% reduction in footprint required, which is our key focus for increasing our capacity to enable future growth.
If I think about supply chain, there are basically 3 Ds I think about, right? Which is you de-risk, you diversify, and then you digitize. And in terms of the actual movement of goods and services, we also have one of the world's largest as well as most efficient seaports, aside from the airport expansion. And that has actually allowed companies to do multimodal kind of channel distributions. So all in all, there is a strong support from the government to foster more MMCs, SME collaborations to strengthen that resilience.
We see this as automation and AI as a transformation for the industry going forward. When you scan the industry for where is the state of technology today, it is at various state of progress. If you look at operational efficiencies, then you get into the realm of AI agents for operational research, which is still a little bit in the proof of concept stage. And how do you use that? We have been dabbling with that to figure out how would we be able to use that to schedule engine parts flow, as well as aircraft. So different operation research models just to test the concept. Product improvements. How do we tap into AI to search for service bulletins, to search for engineering databases more effectively than what the engineers can do today? But I think as technology moves along, and it will move along, there will be a need for us to work with the regulators. How do we integrate automation, artificial intelligence to release back to service, certification?
It's really about how do you use AI to do predictive maintenance, digital MRO. And actually, one very good example that I saw was in May this year, I attended ST Engineering's opening of a new engine MRO training facility with ITE. They are partnering with ITE to actually simulate a real-world environment of engine MRO, like what they have in Paya Lebar. And I thought it was very interesting because it's not just a simulation of the real environment, but also actually the students get to work on AI, they get to work on augmented reality, AR, they get to work on robotics. And if you think about the use of today, those are the interesting technologies that actually resonate with them. So collectively, we do think that some of these technologies, I would bucket them as future mobility, will help the companies become more competitive, will add value to your operations, and more importantly, actually they will create jobs that Singaporeans will want to take up.
Jim Collins, in the great book Good to Great, he opined it really well where he said, thoughtless reliance on technology can be a liability. And that's what we say. So we're implementing technology where it will make a difference in terms of safety, quality, delivery or cost, and helping our teams understand that through the training and development. We see lots of examples. Our turbine nozzle facility, our business here in Singapore, where they relaid out the shop, saved 33% footprint. Everybody's talking about AI right now. GE had implemented AI within its products and services over the last decade, one of the biggest AI patent holders in the industry, and working very, very closely with our customers on predictive maintenance, moving more from reactive to predictive. We have digital twins, we can understand the data and the parts life. And then into the future, maintenance and MRO will be 100% accounted on data for the parts. So that's the one big area that we mustn't forget.